All right. Hi, everyone. It's Simone Ammons again here from Technical Writer HQ, where we offer certification courses for technical writing as well as resources for all community members looking to either enter or grow in their position as a technical writer. Today, we have the great Andre Newman with us. He's going to tell us all about his background, how he got to be where he is, and especially moving from technical writer to a technical marketing manager. I will let him tell us all about it. But first, Andrew, tell us what your background is, where you work, and what do you do in your role currently.
Yeah. So, as first of all, I'll just say thanks for having me on here. It's really cool to get interviewed like this. As mentioned, my name's Andre. I've been working for a company named Gremlin. We are a software reliability company. We specialize in reliability testing. You can think of us as a company that helps your websites like your banks and online stores and streaming services stay up and available. My job specifically is creating not all of our content, but a good amount of it that talks about the product and how it helps teams become more reliable and how folks can use it to be more successful at their job.
I love it. I love it. So reliability. We were talking a little bit earlier, and for me, I'm an engineer in the chemicals and pharmaceutical world, and for me, reliability means equipment reliability. But in your world, reliability speaks to more about website uptime, availability. Can you speak a little bit more about that and how your work at Gremlin ties into that for your customers?
Yeah, so you kind of nailed it. It's about things like uptime and availability and accessibility, it's making sure that, when you type in the website that you want to go to, it actually is up and responds quickly. Of course, with technology, with how complicated software has gotten and when you factor in things like cloud computing, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. There's a lot of things you have to be careful and watch out for. So, a big part of my job is knowing what all of those, not all of those, but knowing what those different reliability risks can be, and I guess more specifically, how do you actually test for them? How do you make sure your systems are able to withstand them when they actually happen in the real world? And then how do you learn from that and make sure it doesn't happen again? So my job kind of evolved out of that need to communicate that from the folks in our company, like the engineers, the really smart people who have been doing this stuff, and basically just sending out to the world and getting other people interested and aware of us.
Yeah. So did you? So I love what you said. Like you're taking this the information from these engineers who've been doing this for for years and translating that into a format that maybe somebody without that software engineering background could understand. What are some of the tips or tricks or skill sets that you've honed over the years to really get that messaging across and not really get lost in the technical, I don't say accuracy of the documentation. We need that too, but really getting the messaging out that you want your website up and running all the time, especially like on Black Friday, for example. How do you balance that?
Yeah. So the three words I'll use are know your audience.
Mm.
Like everything we write is for somebody, right? Which sounds kind of obvious when I say it out loud, but it's also something you have to keep in mind because you're not just making words, you're creating something that hopefully somebody will be able to pick up and read and actually use to, make their lives or their jobs better. So, I've been fortunate with Gremlin because we're a small company and everybody's really accessible. So if I want to know, like, hey, does this piece of content resonate with an engineer, like a software developer? I can go to one of our software developers and just ask them to take a look at it if they have some time. Um, but it's a lot of what it comes down to is just being knowledgeable about who is most likely going to be reading your content, being respectful of them and their time because they're taking time out of their day to read or watch whatever it is you put out there. And the technical details of it are definitely important. You want to make sure you get those right. But if what you're creating isn't engaging or interesting or accessible, then it can be as technically accurate as possible, but still not get anywhere.
Yeah, I love that, especially your accessibility piece, especially now with inclusive designs, UI, I think has taken off as well. I think that's also a big part of reliability. Like, do your kind of users even access your content and in a way that makes sense to them? So that's really great. So on the technical piece, you shared with me before we started that you actually have a software developer information technology background. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you leverage that into your first role and then leverage that into like your, like, I guess before you became a manager, but your technical writing, like how did you harness that fundamental training in your technical writing?
Yeah. So I kind of walk through my whole sort of journey, I guess,
Yeah.
from university to now. So I started off in computer science, like you said. I always had an interest in computer technology. Like I did a thing where I was building computers in my teens and playing around with like installing Linux, things like that. So it's always been an interest for me. And then when I started going to school, I thought that I would want to become a software programmer just as like an extension of that. So I went into my degree is actually called management information systems, but you can really just think of it as like computers and businesses. It's actually very similar to what I do now. It's talking about
Mm.
systems that companies are using and running. Um, so yeah, I did that, got my degree in that, and then shortly after that, I actually got a job starting off in programming. I was working for a company in the Tampa Bay area, kind of another small company, building software too. But found out that I didn't really like doing it. Like it didn't really like resonate with me that strongly. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what I wanted to go from there, or if that was really even what I wanted to do. So I kind of took a step back and thought to myself, like, I like working with computers, but I don't want to program. I really like creating creative writing and just
Uh-huh.
writing in general. But you know, becoming a multi-million dollar author isn't just something you do. So it's like, how do
True.
I how do I
True.
merge these two things together?
Hmm.
And that's really what got me into looking into technical writing. Um,
Mm. So
and
like so like so like walk so you have your degree MIS, then you have your software developer, you're doing sort of that hands-on stuff, and then you're looking out and seeing how do you marry, you already have a passion for writing, you have the software background, looking for your first job. Like what are you looking for? Are you looking for something where you can grow, where you can leverage your skills? Like what is your headspace at that time?
yeah, and it really is like it's branching into a new field.
Hmm.
You kind of start at the bottom or at the entry level.
Hmm.
Um, in my case, I actually went into freelancing,
Okay.
which was I appreciate it now. At the time, it was difficult though. Um, but you know, there's a lot to it. It's because you're new, you don't really have a portfolio to work off of. Your name isn't out there. You might have a few pieces that you did like for school, but as far as practical industry things, it's really hard to get that when you're starting out.
Mhm.
Um, so you start off seeing like what people need. In my case, I was looking at websites, like freelancing websites for folks who needed documentation or short manuals written up or short like 500 word blog posts
Hmm.
and working on those just to get that practice and that um,
Build up your
portfolio.
portfolio. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Wow, wow. So was it difficult? Was it difficulty getting clients, building your portfolio, both? Like what was difficult about that freelancing period for you?
The hard thing, even then, and especially now, is that freelancing is such a saturated
Mm.
marketplace that you might be competing with people who are willing to work for like $5 an article or $10 an article, which that's nothing against them, but it just makes it really hard to try and create like a full, um, like a full
Like livelihood.
salary or something, a
Yeah.
livelihood off of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you, especially if you're a software background, how do you then stand out from the crowd, from the saturation? How do you say that I am worth more and my quality is higher? How do you do that with your portfolio, with your approach to clients? How do you do that?
So one of the big things for me when I was starting out was having a blog, or at the very
Mm,
least, just a website where I can post my own thoughts, my own writings, things like that, where I can send folks to look at the things I've written. So I started off doing like guides about things that I'm interested in. So one of the first sort of like projects I did for myself was creating I think it was like a 7 or 8 part guide about how to run your own server in your house. So how to
nice.
host
Send
your
that
own
to
like
me after the call.
you got it.
Wow.
So like how to run your own file sharing service, like streaming music service, things like that.
Wow.
Um, and I can't say for sure that like that's the thing that got people to look at me, but
Uh-huh.
it's things like that. Like, take something that you're interested in, even if it's other people have written about it a million times, doesn't matter because it's going to have your own voice, your own style, and of course your own knowledge.
Yeah,
So just kind of
I
run
love
with it.
that. I love because what I'm hearing is you didn't really wait for the market. You developed your own content. You just went into what you already knew and just put it out there with your own website and blog. I love that. You're not waiting to be asked. You just like put yourself out there. Like this is what I'm capable of and hear me roar. Okay, so now
Yeah,
we're a
exactly.
technical writer. We love what we're doing. What like in your day to day, because we talked earlier about having to talk to your SMEs, your subject matter experts, your engineers who are also pressed for time, and then writing for people who are also pressed for time, like on both sides of that scale. Tips, like tricks, like what like any funny stories or interesting things that you've learned over the years in like developing that content.
Yeah. So I think where I'll start off with that is a lot of people have this idea of technical writers as being like I'm almost like programmers in a way, right? Like your head's down, you're just typing, you're in your
Yeah.
own world, working on your own thing, but that's not really how it works in practice. Um, you really, you really have your hands in all different parts of the company. In my case, I'm part of the marketing team, which makes perfect sense because a lot of the work I do is marketing. But I'm talking with sales folks, I'm talking with SMEs, the engineers who are working on our product. Understanding their mindset and what they put into the product so I can take that and translate it to our customers, potential customers. um, I'm talking with sales so I know what pieces of content are working, what are their prospects talking about, like what caught their eye. If something pulled them into the company, like got them interested in making a sales call, like that's an amazing win. That's exactly what I want to hear about. um, and even after sales, like our support people, they need documentation to know how to troubleshoot something or to send to a customer for them to troubleshoot something. So you have kind of cover all the different bases and you're constantly interacting with all these different teams to figure out what their needs are and what works best for them and kind of guiding your content roadmap based off of that.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
one thing I'm hearing from what you're saying is that you're not just delivering content, but it's like a two-way street where you're also receiving feedback. Hey, the sales team said this webinar was a smash, but this other one, kind of, the content wasn't there, or what I think you said with your sales, like the leads are talking about this particular blog or this particular thing on your website. I think that's
mhm,
really interesting. Because you don't want to put things into a vacuum, right? You want things to bounce
yeah.
back and tell you yes or no. So how did you so now you're a technical writer and then you're looking at the I guess outside of fundamental technical writing, so to speak, and then moving into marketing, but still keeping your technical accuracy, where in marketing you're more about engaging and bringing that new interest into a product. How do
Mhm.
you then, from technical writing to marketing, leverage that experience and make and create content that actually resonates with your new user, people who are not used to your blog or your writing? How do you do that in marketing?
Yeah. So one really great thing about working in the tech industry is that, well, like it's more specifically, my marketing is business to business. So we're marketing to other
Mhm.
businesses who are running their own services, which is a lot different from marketing to consumers. Because consumers, the focus is pretty much exclusively on pulling people in, right? This is our product is the best one. It does this the best way, things like that. Whereas
Right.
business to business, it's more like, look, we know you guys are having a pain point where your systems are going down or you're having incidents or outages or things like that. Um, we want to be able to help you, and our tool can help you in this way, in this way, and that way. So there's a lot more. Um, it feels a lot less markety is the best way I can put
Mm,
it,
mm,
and a lot
mm,
more
mhm,
educational, I guess. It is
mm,
still marketing, but
mhm.
it's kind of a collaborative thing instead of just a one way, let's broadcast to everybody everything. Um,
Yeah, I because when we first started talking, the first thing you said was know your audience. So I think that's the same theme that you're repeating here is from B2B, it's you already know they have a problem, right? We're not going to inform them about that, but now you're
yeah.
saying, and this is our solution to that exact problem, and this is how you're supposed to overcome it. Do you
Mhm.
have any like from in your marketing or in your technical writing where there was a certain issue that arose that you had to write a blog, and then there was like an immediate impact or long-term impact, like customers always used to call about, I don't know, something like some, I don't know, sales rep or sales support or something, and then we
Mhm.
wrote about it, we had a webinar about it, and then those numbers started decreasing or increasing. Was there, do you have any like experiences like that?
I can think of a couple.
Okay.
There's actually a recent one that happened that really kind of made my day. I don't know if you're familiar at all with Kubernetes.
Yes, 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 the
Yeah.
containers, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So part of our product or feature is that we can automatically detect certain issues with your Kubernetes cluster. So like if you didn't add a health check for this container, or you're running like two different versions of another container side by side when they should be the same version, we can detect things like that and then report on it. Um, One of them is detecting what's called a crash loop back off. And if anybody's in the audience who knows Kubernetes, you probably just broke out in hives from me saying that. But the idea behind that is like you have a container that you send out to your cluster, and for whatever reason, it can't run, it crashes or it dies or whatever. So Kubernetes says, all right, no problem. I'll try to restart that. So it tries to restart it and it dies again. Kubernetes
Oh,
says, all right, I'll try to restart it again.
oi,
And it creates that crash loop.
oi.
And there's so many different ways that could happen, but it's something that everybody who's new to Kubernetes runs into.
Uh-huh.
So I took that automatic detection from the product and talked specifically about how it detects crash loops and posted that. And that got, I think, more traction than any other blog that we put up on the website,
Yes,
because it was that it's something that everybody runs into. Everybody has questions about it. So, like, what can you do about it?
yes.
And what I heard is that a couple of days ago, somebody who actually writes documentation for the Kubernetes team um, decided, based on the blog post, to put a section in the docs about crash loops, like what exactly they mean.
What?
So I was like, oh, that's cool. It actually influences sort of in a way.
What? Bow down, bow down. Wow. So your writing actually influenced like upstream, like to like a product. Wow. Okay. That is
Right.
the power. But that's the power of listening to your customers, hearing their, you said recorded hives, and I almost did when you said it, but listening to their pain points and then putting it in I'm pretty sure your blog was well written. So putting it in a way that did not crashing through your blog either, but actually understanding what you're saying enough so that Kubernetes picked up on that. That is, yeah, put it in your resume. Okay, like that's that's really great. That's really great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in marketing, what's your day to day like? Or are you, because you said earlier most people think technical writing, you just on your computer just go, and that's not even like partly true. How is it different from the, like you said, you kind of had your hands in a lot of different pots as a technical writer. Now in marketing, do you find yourself in more pods, less pods, more collaboration, less collaboration? Is it more streamlined? Like how does that balance out?
I think it's more collaboration,
Ah,
moving from plain technical writing into more of a marketing role. Um, but it's good because it's collaborating in ways that helps make you more effective at your job.
Mm.
So I'll split the same stuff into two questions. So my workday, typically what I do when I come in the morning is kind of what everybody else does: check my emails, check Slack, see what's new, things like that. I read a lot of different tech news sites. Some of my favorite ones are like The Verge, Ars Technica, The Register, Hacker News sometimes. Reddit even is still really good. Um,
Interestingly enough, yeah.
so
Have
like
good threads, yeah.
yeah. Um, so sites like where it's a combination of news, but then also people's personal experiences and their comments
Mm.
too, because you get a lot of gold out of just hearing what people are dealing with when they work on these systems. Um,
Yeah.
and when I think about what I want to write about, we usually plan out our content calendar like once
Oh.
a quarter in advance.
Oh
So
wow, look
we'll
at
get
you.
I
Nice.
say when I say plan, it's like coming up with ideas, not like having
Okay, but
individual.
still,
Yeah.
I feel like a month in advance is crushing it, but y'all put me to shame. Okay, go ahead. A quarter.
um, so we'll think about like what are the big broad umbrella topics we want to talk about. If it's Kubernetes, cloud computing, AWS, stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then from there, we kind of break it down into what the different, like, it's kind of a combination of things, like what pain points we're hearing, what we're hearing from the sales team, what some of our support people wish they had.
Mm.
Um, so it's all of that kind of comes together to build out my actual what I'm going to be working on.
Mhm. Okay, and then from one blog from start to finish with everything else like taking up your time, how long do you think it takes you to like a 1200 word blog? I think that's pretty standard in the technical writing, like from start to finish, having to talk to, I don't know, 12 different people on the team. Like what is that like process like for you?
Altogether, I'd say it probably takes 2 to 3 business days
Okay.
of
Okay.
not necessarily like working exclusively on that,
Okay.
but
Okay. Okay. I was
getting
like, you
everything.
AI? Like that's pretty good.
It's yeah, because some of them, some blogs need a lot more research than
Yeah.
others. Um, some of them, like the product focused ones, are pretty easy because we already likely have that stuff written up in
Mhm.
documentation or something. So it's
Mhm. Mhm.
kind of a copy paste basically with
Mhm. Mhm.
nice formatting.
Mhm.
So yeah, it varies.
It varies. And when it comes to, so as for like your technical writing, your product documentations, release notes, those things, when it comes to marketing, where I feel like in social media the climate changes daily. I feel like
Yeah,
sometimes the trends. How do you especially if you're planning so like a quarter in advance, how do you balance staying prepared, right? Being planning ahead and then being responsive to like changes in algorithms and things like that. How do you like manage that with that technical writing background in marketing?
yeah, that's a really good question. Part of it is that we try to build a bit of I guess free space
Mm,
into each month just for things like that. So we have some flexibility if we need to respond quickly to something. It doesn't always happen or it doesn't happen super often, but it does still happen.
hmm.
But also the our content calendar isn't really fixed in stone. We don't, unless it's something like a webinar or something that we're partnering with somebody else on, we don't really have hard set deadlines on when things need to get out. So we can shuffle things around if it makes the most sense. And
Hmm.
we tend to do that a lot too for um, events specifically. So if KubeCon is coming up in 2 months or so, we
Right,
might front load a lot of Kubernetes stuff. AWS, we tend to front load a lot of stuff in October for reInvent.
right,
So
right.
it varies that way too.
Okay. Wow. Wow. So we spent a lot of time just kind of going over this journey, learning how you've leveraged your software background, not liking it and actually being in tune to that. I know how to do this, but it's not something I want to do career wise. Pivoting into technical writing, loving it, talking to 100 people to get one document together, and then now moving into marketing where it's really facing the customers where they are and on the platforms that they live on, whether it's social media or websites or blogs or whatever.
Mhm.
Anything you would tell a new technical writer coming in, you would tell your younger self having on the other side of this journey now, any like take home notes for those of us on the webinar?
Yeah. I'm gonna parrot what a lot of writers say, and I know it's cliche, but it's true, is just write. Just get that practice of writing and getting your thoughts down.
Write it
Doesn't
down.
matter if it's technical writing or journaling or poetry or scribbling, whatever. Just get comfortable with being able to write your thoughts on the paper, whatever it is, because that helps you no matter what you end up doing. Um, if you're like me and you want to be like absolutely sure what you're writing is 100% technically accurate, maybe even to a healthy level, maybe set some time for yourself so you're not spending so much time on researching that you know what could be a 2 hour blog post gets stretched out into 8 hours. um, and also, if you're getting into a technical field, take some time to play around with software, learn how it works, learn how the people who you're writing for are using it.
Mm.
um, Even if you don't want to build your own Kubernetes cluster, there are a lot of people out there who have written about building Kubernetes clusters and the stuff they had to go through and the problems that they're running
Right.
into. So like definitely be open to reading other people's blogs and forums or whatever it might be. And
Right.
then I think the last thing I'd probably offer for advice is don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
That's a good one.
um, it's sometimes it's hard. I think a lot of writers are introverted. I definitely was. So doing something like putting your thoughts out on the internet for everybody to see and for Google to index can be kind of scary. But at the same time, that's how you get your name out there. That's how you get cited by recruiters, whatever it might be. So you kind of just hold your breath and hit publish and go for it.
Just go.
it yeah.
I love it. I love it. So we have like a few more minutes left. I just want to bring up AI. Has it touched your field? Has it touched how Gremlin operates? Like, any, has it not changed anything at all? Whatever you can share, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, it's definitely impacted us like it's impacted everybody.
Hmm.
And like we've been looking at AI too, just as for me, it's more of a assistant than anything.
Ah,
Like I use software that obviously can like read what I'm writing or read the document I'm working on and say, hey, this thing isn't correct or this grammar isn't quite right.
right.
And there's some AI built into that, and I'm totally fine with that.
Hmm.
I don't think AI is going to get to a point where it will be able to fully replace writers just
Hmm.
because I mean, there's the technical side of it, which it can do decently,
Hmm.
but there's still that issue with hallucination, and it just doesn't have a human voice. You can tell when something is written by AI versus when it's written by a human. And
Right.
even in a really engineering focused technical industry like mine, people still care about that stuff.
Interesting. So that
So
human touch, huh? Interesting.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
I love it. I love it. So on that note, we want to thank you so much for sharing everything with us. I love your journey from the roots really to the tree. That's about the tree. It feels
yeah,
like where you're shouting from the top, it's like, hey, marketing, but coming, you're grounded in that root in information systems and software and leveraging that all the way through your journey. So I hope
yeah,
all of you has found this very, very helpful. I know I have. And like you said, just write, just put it out there, press the send button, press publish, and put your name out there. Get your blogs out, get your own portfolio out, to make your name out there in the space. So, any last words for us before we close out, or on this beautiful
oh,
Friday afternoon? But afternoon for me, I don't know what's the time over there on
yeah.
the West
Afternoon
Coast.
for me, it's about
Okay,
4:30,
okay,
end of the
okay.
workday, getting ready to go into weekend mode.
There you
Yeah, I'd
go.
say
There you go.
just you're better at this than you think you are, just in general. People, you can be really critical on yourself. I do it all the time too.
Yeah.
Um, like you're your own worst enemy is how the saying goes, I think.
Yeah.
but just have faith in yourself. Just recognize it's something you really want to do and go for it and get your name out there, and the people they'll see you, they'll find you.
That's definitely true. That is definitely true. Thank you so much, Andre. I appreciate you
Yeah,
taking the time with us. And join us again for viewers out there next week. We'll talk to another technical writer, technical managing. Hold on. Let me get it. Technical marketing manager at the top of their game and learn how they got to their role. I just love your journey. It's like full circle. I just love your journey. So thank you so
cool.
much for joining us this week, and enjoy your
Forever.
Friday. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me, and enjoy your weekend too.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.